question, Rati, which is more around strategic philanthropy, which is something that the family in some ways has focused on. Because on the one hand, you see a lot of grant giving and donations which happen from a project to project lens. But the other is really to start looking at, in some ways, building the resilience within the social sector. And to a certain extent, the current pandemic environment, COVID, has that, in your sense, accelerated the conversation around having to build resilience in the social sector? And how should one be kind of thinking about it?
Personally, I'm a huge advocate for it. And in fact, from our own foundation or our company foundation, we have a vertical which we have entitled, in fact, Resilience of the Social Sector. I think there's an even greater imperative given the pandemic. And we are, in fact, putting more of our money in the foundation or allocating more funds towards this particular vertical. So the need arose because we were partnering or working with several smaller and medium-sized organizations. And almost 15 years ago, I think, we started hosting an annual conference at the company on one or other theme, which we thought would benefit the social sector organizations. And it kind of had a ripple effect. In the first year, when you had that usual feedback form, organizations gave us a list of themes that they would like to understand more about, and then we would get in resources. So it was a very low cost, but a hugely impactful way of making a difference and building capacity in a group of social sector organizations. So building on that, we decided to actually start really more thoughtfully and in a larger way giving to this vertical of the resilience of the social sector. So it has taken on different colors. From within our company, we have people from our finance area, for example, having small sessions with, say, 4 or 5 NGOs around finance for non-finance, human resources, helping you put together a good, robust performance appraisal system for your organization. These are issues we take for granted in our companies, even smaller, medium-sized and large companies. But these are issues that don't get addressed in smaller social sector organizations. The second piece was around really thinking about what could we do in terms of what could we do in terms of capacity building more thoughtfully. And so we started giving to fellowships. So there are a myriad of good social fellowships available today. And we actually look at those people who won't be able to, or those organizations who can't afford the fellowship. And we support those individuals. And finally, I think the pandemic has brought even closer to home the need for some amount of unrestricted funding going to the social sector. We are all very hooked on to it always being a project which has an impact. But I think the pandemic has made us realize that there's a loss of jobs. People are unable to even afford rents in their organization, and how can we support and help those pieces? And yes, that's how we have been trying to really think more strategically about the resilience of the social sector. And one last one, which we've particularly done during this pandemic, is I think all of us have done a lot in the way of relief, food rations, and civil society has really come out and done that in droves. But now more than ever, we as a family really thought about how can we pick a few enterprises with maybe 10 people or more and see how can we support them. This support has been in the way of providing some sort of space for them to store their material because they've had to close down and not being able to pay the rent for their office. It has also been supporting small enterprises which have, good food products and so on. So we have taken that on, and we really feel that has made an impact, at least for 6 months, and it hasn't led to losses of jobs and closing of enterprises.
That's fantastic. And I think as we see this, one would hope that more companies, more institutions follow some of the things that you've outlined and can actually build on this, because ultimately, again, linking with the collaborative nature of what the group does, how does it all come together?